Hey guys, tonight we slip quietly into the shadows of history, where the air tastes like cold metal and the silence hides things you're not supposed to know. You find yourself packed into the back of a military truck, rattling along winding mountain roads. It's dark, save for the occasional flicker of moonlight through the trees. The driver doesn't speak. The soldiers beside you keep their rifles across their laps, their eyes forward, unreadable. And you probably won't survive this. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And hey, let me know in the comments where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. The truck finally groans to a stop in the middle of nowhere. Bavarian Alps, someone mutters under their breath. You step out into crisp night air, so still it almost hums in your ears. Ahead, half buried in the snow, is a narrow concrete entrance carved into the mountainside. No signage, no warm glow of welcome, just a steel door flanked by two guards in long black coats. Behind you, the truck is already gone, leaving only the crunch of your boots as you approach. This isn't some regular army barracks. You can feel it. The way the guards don't look at you, but through you, as though you're already erased. Inside, the corridor is long and sterile. White tiles, harsh fluorescent lights, buzzing with a faint insect-like whine. The air smells faintly of chemicals, sharp and clean in a way that feels wrong, like it's been scrubbed of humanity. They take your coat, they take your shoes, and of course, they take your name. You're handed a plain gray uniform with just a number stitched across the chest. No words exchange, just a clipboard, a nod, and a push toward another door. You might have heard whispers about places like this during the war. Officially, the Nazis called them research facilities. They claimed to study human endurance, cognition, and even spiritual awakening through science. Mainstream history confirms that such sites existed, like Daco's experimental wing, where freezing chambers and hypoxia rooms were standard. But this feels different, more hidden, more deliberate. As you walk deeper inside, you pass rows of small, windowless rooms with heavy iron doors. Some have faint, scratching sounds from within. Others are silent, chillingly so. A scientist in a crisp white coat glances at you briefly, jotting something in a notebook, then keeps walking without acknowledgement. Funny thing you notice, a faint draft coming from somewhere below. Like the facility doesn't end here. There's more beneath the surface. Tunnels or chambers carved directly into the mountain. Historians still argue whether Nazi Germany had an entire underground network of secret labs in the Alps, or if it's just one of those myths people like to romanticize about wartime conspiracies. Looking around, it doesn't feel like a myth. You're ushered into a small room with a single chair bolted to the floor. No windows, just one dangling light bulb and a tray with metal tools. A clipboard. No, don't focus on that. You try to calm your breathing, but the silence presses on you like a physical weight. A doctor finally enters. He's tall, thin, with round wire glasses and a face that's completely neutral, like he's forgotten how to smile or perhaps never learned. His German is clipped, precise, but he switches to perfect English. You are here for evaluation. We will determine the limits of the human mind. He doesn't say what happens if you fail. They take a blood sample, quick, efficient. They shine a blinding light into your eyes, murmuring about pupil dilation. One of them takes notes, while another measures your reflexes. It feels harmless, almost routine. But you notice the way they look at each other, like you're not really a person, just a variable in their data. And here's a quirky detail. On one wall, you spot a framed photograph of a dog, a German shepherd, sitting obediently in a lab. Below it, handwritten in German, is a phrase that roughly translates to "even the animal obeys." Creepy, definitely necessary decor. Hard to say. They lead you to a larger chamber, high ceilings, faint echoes. Other subjects stand silently along the walls, some staring into nothing, others shaking quietly, lost in thoughts you don't want to imagine. You think back to the rumors you've heard: Nazi scientists obsessed with unlocking psychic abilities, mind control, even telepathy. Some of that's documented in declassified Allied reports. Some, well, historians still debate whether these programs were real science or just desperate pseudoscience. Looking at the hollow-eyed people in this room, you're leaning toward the latter. A buzzer sounds. A steel door slides open, and you're motioned through. Whatever lies beyond, you know instinctively there's no turning back. Your thoughts are sharp, but your gut whispers one thing: this is only the beginning. Remember the mountain air, the truck ride, the way the soldiers didn't speak. That was the last moment you still felt like yourself. From here on, things will shift in ways you can't undo. The steel door shuts behind you with a finality that makes your skin crawl. The sound isn't just metal lids, like the air size, accepting you into its grip. Ahead stretches another corridor, this one dimmer, lined with frosted glass panels that distort shadows into strange, twitching shapes. The smell changes too. No longer the sharp tang of disinfectant, but something fainter, older. Herded into what looks like a medical wing. A long room with rows of metal tables covered in gleaming instruments. There are jars, each holding what looks suspiciously like brain tissue. You force yourself to glance away. A nurse, in a perfectly starched uniform, steps toward you with gloved hands, holding a clipboard and a syringe, already filled with some clear liquid. She doesn't speak. None of them do. And then, the white coats arrive. 3 of them, 2 men, 1 woman. Their shoes click softly on the polished floor. They don't introduce themselves, but you know these are the ones in charge. Somehow full of it, they tell you to sit on the edge of a cold steel table. Your limbs tingle with a heavy warmth, but your mind stays alert, annoyingly sharp. The balding doctor speaks again. We are searching for the mechanisms of resilience. You will assist. His words are clipped, but there's a faint thrill in his tone, like he enjoys the mystery of what they might find. They begin what they call the orientation phase. A typewriter. It spits out a thin ribbon of paper, marked with jagged black lines. Your brainwaves. They say, here's a mainstream fact that might ground you for a second. Nazi scientists really did perform psychological and neurological experiments. At Dachau, they studied hypothermia. The lines, with fascination. She asks you a series of questions in a soft voice. Simple things at first: your name, you almost say it, but remember, it doesn't matter here. Dreams, your head spins. Are these riddles? Tests. You try to answer logically, but every response feels wrong. Lots of notes. Next comes the sensory alignment. They blindfold you and lead you through another door. You're made to stand still while faint mechanical clicks echo in the darkness. A soft breeze brushes your face. Then silence. Complete, crushing silence. Here's a quirky detail you notice even blindfolded: a faint smell of violets. Not strong, just they're oddly out of place in a room so sterile. You file that away in your mind because it feels important somehow, like a breadcrumb in a maze. The blindfold is removed. Huge glass cylinders line the walls, each one filled with a pale yellow liquid and suspended things. You can't tell if they're biological samples or something more unnatural. One cylinder holds what appears to be a human hand perfectly preserved, skin pale as candle wax. To a chair bolted to the floor in the center of the room, says softly. A rhythmic beeping begins. The light overhead changes subtly, pulsing faintly in time with the beeps. Psychological manipulation to this extent. Sitting here, feeling your heartbeat, syncing unwillingly with the pulsing lights, you're leaning toward the darker theory. The beeping stops. The room goes quiet. They unstrap you and lead you back to the original room. No words, no explanations, just the faint impression that you've passed some invisible threshold. A guard escorts you down another hallway. Through the narrow crack, you glimpse another subject, a man strapped to a gurney. You can't hear it clearly, but the man's face is frozen somewhere between terror and resignation. The guard slams the door shut before he can see more. You're finally deposited in a small, cell-like chamber with a single cot, a metal sink, and a camera mounted in the corner. The walls are white but scuffed, like others before you have tried to claw their way out. You sit, you wait. It hits you. This was only orientation. They're all pieces of a puzzle you're not sure you want to solve. And tomorrow, you're told, the real experiments begin. You don't sleep that night. How could you? The cot is thin, the air stale, and every sound echoes strangely. Somewhere in the distance, you hear faint humming machinery maybe, or voices. It's hard to tell. You try to close your eyes, but every time you do, the memory of that man on the gurney, with the unblinking stare, flickers back like a broken film reel. Morning, if you can call it that, comes without sunlight. The same sterile lights buzz on, and a metallic clang announces. The door sliding open. 2 guards stand there, silent as always. One gestures. You stand, your legs heavy, and follow. They lead you to another wing of the facility. This one feels different, more clinical, more controlled. The floor is covered in white tiles that are so polished they almost shine. The hallway is lined with identical doors, each marked only by a number. You stop at a door labeled 13. Of course it's 13. Inside, the room is larger than you expect. It's dominated by a single metal chair bolted to the center of the floor, surrounded by cables snaking toward machines that hum softly. A single table holds notebooks, a pitcher of water, and a tray with what looks like a stack of playing cards. A doctor is already there, waiting. He's younger than the others, his blonde hair neatly combed, his round glasses slightly fogged from the humidity of the room. "Sit," he says gently. His voice is softer, almost polite, but there's no kindness behind it, just curiosity. He tells you this will be a simple cognition trial. No harm, no pain, just staying awake. They begin by seating you under a harsh white lamp and telling you not to close your eyes. Seems easy enough, right? Except they don't turn the light off. Hours pass, minutes feel like hours. At first, you're fine. You sit upright, your breathing steady, but after a while, your eyelids grow heavy. This is the sleep deprivation test. Real history confirms Nazis conducted them, believing that extreme fatigue might unlock hidden cognitive abilities, or at least show how long a person could last before their mind began to break. The young doctor takes out the deck of cards. He shows you one card at a time, a red queen, a black ace, a joker, and asks you to repeat them back. Simple memory work. But after 50 cards, after 100 cards, your brain starts to fuzz. Was it a red 7 or a black 3? Did he even show you that one? The lights never dim. As the hours stretch on, something else starts happening. You hear faint whispers, At first you think it's the doctor murmuring to himself, but he's silent, calmly observing. The whispers grow louder, like they're right behind you. But when you turn your head, nothing. Here's a quirky detail. In the corner of the room is a metronome ticking steadily. No one mentions it, but its click, click, click starts to sync with your thoughts. After a while, it feels like the room itself is breathing with you. They give you water, but no food. You try to stretch your legs, but the doctor shakes his head. Remain seated, he says. So you sit and sit and sit, after what feels like an eternity, though the clock on the wall insists. It's been only 8 hours. They change the game now. The doctor dims the lights slightly, not off, just enough to make shadows gather in the corners. He plays a low, droning sound over hidden speakers. Focus, he says softly. Tell me what you see. And oh, you do start to see things. Movement. At the edges of your vision, shapes that dart away the moment you try to look directly at them. For a fleeting second, you're sure you see your own reflection standing in the corner, smiling faintly. Historians still argue whether these experiments were purely for testing human limits, or if they were searching for ways to induce hallucinations. Deliberately some kind of crude attempt at psychological control. Either way, it's working. You blink hard. The doctor notes your reaction. You're tired, he says calmly. Good, let's continue. The whispers come back, clearer now. A voice says, your name, what used to be your name. Another voice laughs softly. You grip the armrest to steady yourself, but it doesn't help. You're sliding into a haze where reality feels slippery. Then, suddenly, they jolt you awake with a splash of ice water across your face. The shock sends your heart racing. The doctor leans close. How long have you been awake? He asks. You open your mouth, but no words come out. How long has it been? You're not sure anymore. They repeat the process cards. Questions, whispers, shadows for what feels like another full day. At some point, you think you nod off for just a second, but a sharp sound jerks you upright. The doctor makes another note. Eventually, they unstrap you, stand you up, and guide you out of the room. Here's the twist. When you step into the hallway, you expect to see daylight through some distant window. Instead, the same sterile artificial lights greet you. You glance at a clock on the wall. You've only been gone 3 hours. 3 hours, not days. Your brain reels. Did they manipulate the clock, or your sense of time? Or both? The guards take you back to your cell. The cot looks even thinner now. Your body aches. Your mind feels like it's been wrung out and left to dry. And the worst part, when you close your eyes, you still hear the whispers. Remember the metronome's tick. It's still there in your head, faint but steady, like a second heartbeat. You lie down and stare at the ceiling, realizing this was just day one. Tomorrow, they said, you'll meet the mirrors, and you're starting to dread what that means. They come for you before you've even convinced yourself you slept. Maybe you drifted for 5 minutes, maybe you didn't at all. The whispers never stopped, even in the darkness of your cell. They followed you like faint radio, static in your head. The guards don't say a word. They simply gesture for you to rise. Always follow. This time, they lead you down a corridor you haven't seen before. It curves slightly, spiraling deeper underground. You can feel the shift in air-pressured answer, colder. The walls are lined with pipes that hum faintly, like the building itself is alive. The room you enter next is unsettling in its simplicity. At first glance, it feels like you've stepped into an infinite void of your own image. There's a single stool in the center, nothing else. A doctor appears, this one you haven't seen before. He's older, with neatly combed silver hair and a face like weathered marble. He carries no clipboard, just a small pocket watch that he flips open and closed as he speaks. "Sit," he says, voice low and smooth. You obey. This, he explains, is a test of self-perception. Simple. Look into the mirrors. Do not look away. Do not close your eyes. You will discover something. The lights dim slightly, leaving only a cool, bluish glow. And then it begins. At first, it's just you tired, hollow-eyed, staring back. But after a minute, something feels off. Your reflection doesn't blink when you do. It lags, just half a second, enough to make your stomach twist. You blink again, deliberately. The reflection follows, but a beat too late. The doctor says nothing. Minutes pass. Your breathing grows shallow. You notice tiny changes in your mirrored self. The tilt of the head is slightly different. The corners of the mouth twitch in ways you're sure you didn't. A bead of sweat appears on its forehead before you feel any. Here's a mainstream fact to ground you. Mirror experiments were indeed a real psychological tool. Scientists have used prolonged mirror gazing to induce mild hallucinations, triggering something called the strange face illusion. During World War II, Nazi psychologists reportedly explored such sensory manipulations, claiming it could expose hidden layers of the psyche. And right now, the reflections know you start to look less like you. The eyes darken slightly, shadows gathering in the sockets. For a fleeting moment, you swear the mouth of your mirror self curls into a faint, mocking smile. You glance at another mirror to break the tension, but that reflection is worse. It tilts its head to the side like it's studying you, not the other way around. A soft whisper floats through the room. At first, you think it's coming from behind you, but then you realize it's coming from the mirrors. The voices are faint, layered like dozens of you speaking all at once in a language you can't quite understand. Here's the quirky detail in one of the mirrors. Just for a split second, you catch a glimpse of someone else, not you. A man in a gray uniform like yours, standing directly behind your reflection. But when you whip your head around, no one's there. Your heartbeat quickens. The silver-haired doctor clicks his watch shut. Closer, you do. Against your better judgment, you do. And then, something truly wrong happens. One of the reflections blinks independently, out of sync. It moves its lips silently, forming words you can't hear. Slowly, it lifts its hand. Yours stays still. Historians still argue whether Nazi psychologists believed in unlocking hidden psychic phenomena, or if these experiments were simply designed to break the mind into compliance. Looking at the reflections, staring you down, you're beginning to think they wanted both. Your head starts to spin. You feel the urge to close your eyes, to break the gaze, but the doctor's voice cuts in sharply. No, keep looking. The reflections grow darker now. Their skin pales to a ghostly gray, the eyes hollowing deeper. One opens its mouth in a silent scream. The mirrors no longer feel like glass. They feel like thin windows into something that shouldn't exist. You're sweating now. Your hands grip the stools so tightly, your knuckles ache. Then the voices come back clearer this time. Your own voice whispers from the reflections, saying things you'd never dare say out loud. Dark thoughts you've buried for years. Regrets you never voiced. Secrets you didn't even know you remembered. It's too much. You squeeze your eyes shut. Instantly, the doctor barks. Open them. You obey, gasping, and all the reflections have stopped moving. They're just still normal, as if nothing happened. The doctor studies you for a long moment, then nods slightly. Enough for today, he says. He clicks his watch again. The guards step forward, taking you by the arms, as you're led out of the mirror room. You catch one last glimpse over your shoulder, and one reflection. Just one doesn't turn away with the rest. You're back in your cell before you realize you've been holding your breath. Your mind won't stop replaying what you saw. Didn't see. Remember the slight lag in the blink, the whisper from your own mouth, that faint glimpse of another figure behind you. It all lingers, sticking to your thoughts like cobwebs you can't shake off. And tomorrow, they said, you'll be moving on to the next phase. The cell feels tighter today, like the walls crept an inch closer overnight. You sit on the cot, trying not to stare at the camera in the corner. It stares back, its glass eye unblinking. After the mirrors, your mind won't stop replaying those warped smiles. The door opens. Same ritual. Guards, silent as statues, motioning you out. You're too numb to resist this time. They lead you to a wing you haven't seen before, wider, colder, with a faint chemical odor that burns slightly in your nose. The hallway opens into a lab that feels alive in the worst way. Machines hum, fluids bubble in glass tubes, and the air is thick with something metallic. In the center of the room, you see it, a metal reclining chair with straps for the wrists, ankles, and forehead. Beside it, a tray of syringes filled with liquids of every color: amber, clear, even faintly green. A new doctor greets you. He's young, too cheerful, like a man giving a science fair demo. Today, he says, we explore your inner world, your mind beyond its walls. He gestures toward the chair. You hesitate. The guards don't. They push you forward, and soon the straps click tight around you. This won't hurt, the doctor says, smiling in a way that makes you think it definitely will. He selects a syringe with pale blue liquid and holds it up to the light. Just a chemical dream. Here's a mainstream fact to anchor you. During World War II, Nazi doctors really did experiment with drugs to manipulate prisoners. States of mind, barbiturates, mescaline, and other substances to induce confusion, hallucinations, even forced confessions. The Allies later found documents detailing such experiments, chillingly clinical in tone. The needle slips into your arm before you can protest. A cold wave rushes through your veins. At first it feels like nothing. Then the edges of the room soften. The hum of the machines deepens into a strange, melodic drone. Your vision tilts. The ceiling ripples like water. The lights stretch into glowing halos. You blink, and the doctor's face seems closer now, then farther, like he's moving in slow motion. Tell me what you see, he says calmly. You see the lab, but it's wrong. The walls breathe, subtly pulsing. The machines seem to sway like trees in a breeze you can't feel. And the mirrors, yes, there are mirrors again, but warped, bending into impossible shapes. And then the real hallucinations begin. You see yourself. The other you tilts its head and whispers, you know this isn't real. You try to speak, but your voice is sluggish, trapped under the weight of the drug. The doctor leans in closer. Focus. Go deeper. There's more. The room melts. Now, you're somewhere else entirely. A forest, maybe. The trees are skeletal, branches twisting like fingers. In the distance, a shadow moves, something vaguely human, but flickering like a broken film reel. Historians still debate whether these drug-induced hallucination experiments were just attempts at truth serums, or if the Nazis genuinely believed they could access hidden dimensions of the mind. You're not sure if that's myth or reality, but standing in this impossible forest, you can't help but wonder. The forest fades. Now you're in a room that looks exactly like your cell. But there's someone lying on the cot. You move closer. It's you, staring blankly at the ceiling. A voice echoes around you, distorted but familiar. Which one is real? You stumble back, heart pounding, and suddenly, you're back in the lab. The doctor is calmly taking notes while your body trembles against the straps. What did you see? Copy, voices. He nods, jotting everything down. Excellent. Consistent. Consistent. With what? He injects something else this time, a yellowish liquid. We're not finished yet. The second wave hits harder. This time, you're underwater, or at least it feels like it. The doctor's face elongates, stretching unnaturally, and the guards appear taller, looming. And the voices, oh, the voices, they're everywhere now. Whispers overlapping, speaking in languages you don't know, yet somehow understand. One phrase keeps repeating, it's not yours anymore. Here's the quirky detail. In the haze of hallucination, you notice a tiny drawing scratched into the underside of the metal chair. A crude flower. Someone else left it there. Another subject. Maybe it's absurdly human in this sterile nightmare. And for a second, it anchors you. Then the hallucination twists again. You're no longer in the lab. You're in a crowd, dozens of other subjects, all with your face. They're staring at you, waiting for you to speak. When you open your mouth, their voices pour out instead. The doctor's voice cuts through like a knife. Come back. You blink hard, gasping. You're back in the chair. He studies you, then scribbles something. Promising. The brain resists, but not enough. Next session, we'll go deeper. The guards unstrap you. Your legs wobble as they lead you back. The hallway swims in your vision. You can still hear faint whispers, though the drugs should be wearing off. Back in your cell, you collapse onto the cot. Your thoughts feel wrong, like they're not all yours anymore. Remember the impossible forest, the second you on the cot. Those images don't fade, they linger, etched into your mind like carvings. You realize this wasn't just a hallucination. It felt like they reached in and changed something. And tomorrow, they say you'll meet the ice. You're too tired to even imagine what that means. When they wake you, you're shivering even before you know why. Maybe it's the chill in the air, or maybe it's the dread you feel pulsing beneath your skin. Follow without a word. They lead you down another series of sterile hallways, but this one is different. You can feel it. The air is colder, sharp in your lungs, and your breath forms faint white wisps as you walk. You notice condensation on the walls. Somewhere ahead, you hear the slow, steady drip of water. The room you enter is like something out of a nightmare. It's cavernous, the walls lined with frost. At the center sits a massive steel tank filled with water so clear it's almost glass. A faint mist rises from its surface. Around the tank are doctors and technicians, their breath visible in the freezing air. A man in a black coat steps forward. His face is gaunt, eyes pale and expressionless. You will enter the water, he says. It will help us measure the limits of human cognition under extreme stress. His tone is so matter-of-fact, it makes your stomach turn. You look at the tank again. You know it's not just cold, it's lethal. Here's the mainstream historical fact. At Dachau, Nazi scientists conducted hypothermia experiments, submerging prisoners in freezing water to study how long the human body could survive. They recorded the stages of hypothermic shock with clinical detachment, all in the name of aeronautical research. This is a mirror of those horrors. The guards strip you down to a thin, wetting suit, just enough to keep your skin bare to the cold. You climb the short ladder to the edge of the tank, and the moment you look down, it's like thousands of needles piercing every inch of your skin. Your lungs seize, your heartbeat stutters. You gasp, but the breath turns ragged. Stay calm. the black-coated man says, as if that's even possible. They lower you into the tank until the water reaches your chest. The pain sharpens, then dulls into a strange, hollow numbness. After a few minutes, you stop feeling your fingers, then your toes. But the physical cold is only half of it. There's something else happening. Your thoughts slow, stretching out like they're moving through syrup. The walls blur. The edges of the room seem to ripple just faintly. It's subtle at first. You tell yourself it's just the cold, but then you see movement in the water. No, not movement. Shapes. They're faint, just shadows beneath the surface, like figures drifting under ice. You blink, but they're still there. A doctor at the edge of the tank speaks. One looks like a child, curled in on itself. Another closer looks like a man in a gray uniform like yours, but his face is slack. Less documented reasons, breaking, sensory deprivation, hallucinations. Looking at the water, you're sure it's the latter. Your breath quickens. Deeper, he says. The guards push you until the water is at your neck, and that's when it happens. The water changes. It's still cold, yes, but suddenly it feels heavier, thicker, like it's alive. You feel pressure on your legs, like something is brushing against you. Then you hear it, a voice, not from the room, from inside the water. You don't belong here, it whispers. Your heart slams in your chest. The doctors calmly jot notes. You glance down and see a pale face staring up at you from beneath the surface. Wide, dead eyes, lips slightly parted. You flinch back instinctively, but there's nowhere to go. The tank holds you like a coffin. Speak, the doctor says. I see someone, you stammer. Describe. It's me. It looks like me. The doctor makes another note. Expected. Continue. The face beneath the surface smiles faintly, bubbles escaping its mouth. Your mind begins to fracture. Here's the quirky detail. Behind the tank, mounted on the wall, is an old German propaganda poster about the strength of the human body. The contrast is absurd enough to make you want to laugh, but your teeth are chattering too hard. Minutes or hours, who knows, pass. Your skin is pale blue now. Your jaw aches from shivering, and just when you think you can't take it anymore, they haul you out. Your body feels like it doesn't belong to you. It's heavy, clumsy, numb. The guards wrap you in a scratchy wool blanket, but it does nothing. For the shaking that comes from somewhere deeper than your bones, they lay you on a stretcher in the corner of the room. As your vision steadies, you see other subjects lying nearby, still dripping, their eyes glassy and distant. Some mutter softly to themselves. The black-coated doctor walks past them without a glance. Next time, they drag you back to your cell. On the way, you catch a glimpse of another room through an open door. Inside, a man sits in a chair, wrapped in blankets, but his skin is still white as paper. He stares straight ahead, lips moving silently. Back in your cell, you collapse onto the cot. You can still feel the water, still hear the whisper, you don't belong here, and tomorrow, they say you'll face the darkness. Somehow, you already know the darkness will be worse. You wake, or maybe you never slept. It doesn't matter. Time has become a slippery thing here. You're not sure if it's day or night, if those words even mean anything in this place. Your body still aches from the ice tank. Every movement feels stiff, delayed. That the door opens. You don't wait for the guards to signal this time. You just stand. They lead you down a narrow hallway that feels different from the others, quieter somehow, like the air itself is holding its breath. The walls are darker here, the lights dimmer, casting long shadows that stretch unnaturally across the floor. You realize you're descending. The air grows heavier, thicker, like the very atmosphere is pressing against your skin. At the end of the hallway is a heavy black door. It creaks open to reveal nothing. Well, not exactly nothing. A room, yes, but it's completely black. No visible walls, no visible ceiling. Just a vast, endless darkness that swallows the faint glow from the hallway. A doctor waits at the threshold. He's young, but his eyes are hollow. Inside, he says simply. You hesitate. He tilts his head slightly. Inside, he repeats. You step forward, and the darkness envelops you instantly. Here's the mainstream fact: sensory deprivation. Experiments were indeed conducted in various contexts during World War II, designed to test the limits of the human mind without stimuli. Prolonged isolation could induce hallucinations, confusion, even psychosis. The Nazis, of course, twisted this into something far more sinister. The door closes behind you. Now, there's nothing. No light, no sound, no smell, no sense of up or down. At first, it's almost peaceful. You breathe slowly, waiting for your eyes to adjust. But they don't. There's no adjusting to this. It's absolute, seconds or minutes. Pass. And then, you start to hear things. A faint hum, a soft rustle, a whisper. You tell yourself it's just your brain filling the silence. That's what minds do. But the whispers grow clearer, more distinct. Can you hear me? You freeze. The voice is your own. You try to speak, but the words feel heavy. Who's there? No answer. More time passes, or doesn't. Now you feel it, a presence, something just out of reach. You can't see it, but you know it's there, standing just inches from you. You can almost feel its breath on your neck. Historians still argue whether these extreme isolation tests were about breaking the psyche, or if the Nazis believed they could strip away layers of reality through sensory deprivation. Standing here in the void, you're starting to believe the latter. And then the hallucinations begin. Tiny pinpricks of light flash in the darkness, dancing like fireflies, but they move too deliberately, like eyes blinking open. You turn your head instinctively, but they're always in the corner of your vision. The whispers return, louder now. This time, it's not your voice. It's dozens of voices, layered, overlapping. Some laugh, some sob, one murmurs, "We're still here." You try to cover your ears, but it doesn't help. The sound is inside you, echoing in your skull. Then, without warning, you see something. A faint outline, a shape, a person or people all around you. They're featureless, just silhouettes. But you can feel their eyes, watching, waiting. One moves closer, slowly, too slowly. You stumble back, heart pounding. The darkness doesn't end. It stretches forever. Here's the quirky detail. As you turn in the void, you feel something under your bare feet. Not a floor exactly, but a surface etched with faint grooves. You crouch down instinctively and trace them with your fingers. They're letters. A single word carved again and again. BLEIB. Stay. Before you can process it. A new voice booms, not a whisper this time, but a deep, resonant tone that shakes the darkness. Who are you? It's not the doctor. It's not the guards. It's something else. You can't answer. Your throat is dry, frozen. The darkness tightens, and then just like that, it's gone. Light floods your vision. You're standing in a plain white room. The door is open. The doctor is there, scribbling notes. He doesn't look surprised. "How long do you think you were inside?" he asks. "An hour," you rasp. He glances at his watch. 8 minutes. 8 minutes. You stumble out, your legs weak. The guards lead you back down the hallway. On the way, you glimpse another subject being led into the darkness. Their face is pale, their eyes already wide with fear. Back in your cell, you collapse onto the cot. Your ears are still ringing. The whispers haven't fully left, and somewhere, in the back of your mind, you still see those faint blinking lights. Remember, the carved word, "Bly." It's etched into your memory now. A warning, or maybe a command. And tomorrow, they say, you'll face the silence, as if this wasn't silent enough. You're woken by a soundless knock, just the faint shift of air as the door slides open. The guards are there again, the same blank expressions, the same mechanical precision. At this point, you don't even hesitate. You rise and follow, like you've been trained or broken. Today, the hallway is short and oddly warm compared to the others. But the warmth doesn't comfort you, it feels artificial, oppressive. They stop before a door marked with nothing at all, not even a number. The doctor waiting there is someone you've seen before in passing, a small, sharp-faced man with round spectacles and a voice like sandpaper. Today, he says flatly, you will learn the shape of your own thoughts. The door opens into a chamber you can only describe as wrong. It's not a lab, it's not a cell, it's empty, perfectly empty. No windows, no colors, no textures, just smooth, seamless walls, and no sound, not even the faint hum you've gotten used to. It's so silent, you can hear your own breathing, echoes strangely in your head. This is the cage of silence, the doctor explains. No sound, no light, no stimulus, just you. He adjusts his glasses. You will stay until you tell us something new about yourself. You don't even get a chance to ask how long. They step out. The door closes with a hiss, and then there is nothing. Here's the mainstream fact. Extreme isolation chambers were indeed part of psychological research in the 20th century. Even short stays in such environments can cause auditory hallucinations, disorientation, and paranoia. The Nazis took this concept further, pushing it beyond ethical and scientific boundaries. Minutes pass, maybe hours. At first, you're fine. You sit cross-legged on the floor, trying to focus on your breathing. But then you notice the absence of everything. No distant footsteps. No dripping pipes, no machinery, just silence. You swallow. It's loud. Too loud. Your heartbeat echoes in your skull. Boom, 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 like a drum. Then you start to hear something else. A faint ringing, high-pitched, thin like a mosquito trapped in your ear. But you know it's not real. It can't be. It's just your brain panicking, searching for sound where there is none. More time passes, the ringing fades, and now, whispers. Soft at first, like someone speaking from very far away. You strain to hear. It's your own voice, murmuring things you don't want to remember. Regrets, embarrassments, lies you told years ago, things you buried. Why did you do it? The voice asks. You shake your head. No, not real. Another voice joins in. Not yours, someone else, low, raspy, close to your ear. We're still here. You jerk around, but there's nothing. Just the same smooth, blank walls. Historians still debate whether these chambers were used just to study isolation, or if they were part of something more experimental designed to reshape the mind. Sitting here, you feel like your mind is being unspooled thread by thread. You press your hands over your ears, but it doesn't help. The whispers are inside, not outside. Then a new sound. Breathing, not yours. Slow, deliberate, just behind you. You freeze. The air shifts. You know someone is there, standing in the silence with you. You can almost feel the heat of their body. But when you turn, nothing. And then the hallucinations really begin. The walls ripple faintly. Shadows form where there shouldn't be any. For a split second, you see a doorway appear on the far wall. Through it, you glimpse the lab, the ice tank, the mirrors, and yourself, strapped in, staring blankly. But when you blink, the doorway is gone. You start talking out loud, just to hear something. Your own voice sounds strange, Hollow. Who's there? You ask. Silence. Double quotes. Please, just tell me how long. Silence, then, very faintly, a laugh. Here's the quirky detail. You glance down at the floor and notice the faintest scratch marks, like fingernails scraping desperately at the surface. Someone else has been here, left their panic carved into this silent void. You run your fingers over the marks. It's comforting for half a second, proof you're not the only one, but then it hits you. Whoever made these didn't leave this room in the same state they entered. Your thoughts unravel. Now the voices are loud, not whispers anymore, but full sentences. They speak over each other, impossible to separate. Some plead, some mock. One, chillingly calm, says, "Stay, stay with us forever." Your chest tightens. You can't breathe right. And then the silence ends. A faint click. The door opens. Light floods in. The doctor stands there, taking notes casually. "What did you hear?" he asks. You can't answer. He studies your face, then nods slightly. "Good." The silence took hold. "Tomorrow we will push deeper. The guards lead you out. Your legs feel wrong, like they belong to someone else. As you're escorted down the hallway, you hear faint echoes like the whispers followed you out of the room. You glance over your shoulder, and for a fleeting moment, you swear you see a shadow slip back into the silence. Back in your cell, you sit on the cot. You don't even lie down. Your own breathing is too loud now. Remember the scratch marks on the floor. They burned into your memory. A warning, a promise. And tomorrow, they say, you'll wear the mind mapping device. You don't know what that means, and you're not sure you want to. They arrive earlier than usual this time. You don't even pretend to sleep. You're sitting on the edge of the cot when the door slides open. The guards don't have to say anything. You already know the drill. The hallway they lead you down is brighter than the others, oddly sterile in a way that makes your skin crawl. It smells faintly of ozone, like after a thunderstorm. The hum of electricity is louder here, resonant, almost alive. You step into a room unlike any you've seen before. It's circular, with smooth metal walls and strange, branching cables running up to the ceiling. In the center is a large, reclining chair, surrounded by equipment monitors, coils of wire, blinking lights. But what catches your eye is the thing waiting on a nearby table, a metal helmet covered in small electrodes and thin, spidery filaments. A doctor in a crisp white coat greets you. He's middle-aged, with hair slicked back and a faintly amused smile that doesn't reach his eyes. "Today," he says in a soft German accent, "we will see your thoughts." He gestures toward the chair. You hesitate. "Sit," he says, and you do. They strap you in, not too tight, just enough to remind you you're not in control. The doctor lifts the helmet carefully and lowers it onto your head. It's heavier than it looks. The cold metal presses against your skull. You can feel the electrodes settling into place, each one sending a faint static tingle across your scalp. "This device," he explains calmly, "maps the pathways of your cognition. We will stimulate specific regions and observe the response." Here's a mainstream fact to anchor you. Nazi scientists did experiment with rudimentary electroshock and early brain mapping techniques inspired by contemporary neurological research. They believed it might reveal hidden mental capacities, ways to control them. The doctor adjusts a dial on a nearby console. A low hum fills the room. The helmet vibrates slightly against your head. At first, it's subtle, a faint warmth spreading through your skull, like the start of a headache. Then, the images begin. They're sharp, vivid, and completely out of your control. You see flashes of your childhood, your mother's face, a favorite meal, the smell of summer air. But the images twist, flicker. The memories don't stay pure, they warp. Now you see yourself as a child, standing in this very room. The doctor is there too, but older. He looks at you like he's seen this before. You blink hard. The doctor calmly observes the monitors. Good, the hippocampus is responsive, he says. He turns the dial higher, and the floodgates open. Your mind unravels into a kaleidoscope. Faces blur together, voices overlap. Memories you didn't even know you had surge forward. Times you lied, times you failed, times you were afraid. They all play at once, layered like an old, broken film reel. You try to speak, but the words come out wrong. Then the hallucinations shift. Now you're seeing things that aren't your memories. A room you've never been in. A man you've never met. A warplane flying over a city that doesn't look familiar. Are these your thoughts, or someone else's bleeding in? Historians still debate whether these mind-mapping experiments were designed to read memories, implant false ones, or simply induce extreme trauma for data. Sitting here, with someone else's visions in your head, you're starting to believe all three. The doctor adjusts the dial again. The sensations change. You feel pressure, not pain, just an impossible heaviness right behind your eyes. You know something is happening in your brain, but you can't stop it. And then you hear it. A voice, but it's not yours. It's calm, deliberate. Can you hear me? You freeze. The doctor doesn't react. He just makes another note. The voice continues. Don't trust them. Don't trust yourself. Your breathing quickens. The doctor tilts his head. What do you hear? You can't answer. The helmet hums louder. Sparks of light explode behind your closed eyelids. You see the ice tank again. The mirror room. The silent chamber. All of it plays back at once, layered with new images. Rooms you haven't yet been in. Experiments you haven't yet faced. Here's the quirky detail. In the middle of this mental chaos, you catch a glimpse of something impossibly mundane. A single piece of paper taped inside the helmet. It has a doodle, small, smiling sun, drawn in blue ink, childlike, innocent, completely out of place. But then the stimulation surges. Now your own thoughts aren't your own. You can feel them being pushed. Words and ideas drop into your mind like pebbles in water. You hear a sentence forming that you know you didn't think. I belong here. I chose this. You fight it, but it lingers. The doctor smiles faintly. Interesting. Suggestibility is increasing. You shake your head violently. No stop, but they don't. They turn the dial one last time. The room dissolves. You're standing in a field now. It's peaceful. Too peaceful. The sky is gray, but soft. A row of soldiers marches past, faces blank. In the distance, you see the mountain facility, but it's pristine, almost beautiful, like a postcard. A figure approaches you. It's the doctor, but not quite. His features blur, like you're looking through water. He holds out his hand. Stay. He says. Your body moves forward, involuntarily. And then, just as suddenly it's over, the helmet powers down. The hum fades. You're back in the chair, gasping for air. The doctor calmly removes the helmet and sets it aside. You responded well, he says. Tomorrow, we will go deeper. The guards unstrap you. Your legs feel hollow. On the way back to your cell, you catch a glimpse of another subject being fitted with the helmet. Their eyes are wide, trembling. You almost want to warn them, but what would you say? Back in your cell, you sit on the cot, holding your head in your hands. Your mind feels different, off, like it doesn't fully belong to you anymore. Remember the voice that wasn't yours, the one that said not to trust yourself. It's still there, echoing faintly. And tomorrow, they said, you'll meet your double. You can already feel dread crawling up your spine. You know something is wrong the moment the door opens. The guards are different today too, rigid, too deliberate. They don't just escort you, they flank you like you're dangerous. Or maybe like they're afraid of what's coming. The hallway is dimmer than usual. At the end waits a door you've never seen before. It's thick metal, with a round locking mechanism, like something on a submarine. One of the guards spins it open, and a gust of cool, still air brushes your face. Inside is a room so plain it almost hurts to look at. White walls, no windows, a single overhead lamp casting harsh light. In the center are two chairs facing each other, just a few feet apart, and sitting in the other chair is you. You stop. Your mind refuses to process it at first, but there's no denying it. Same face, same clothes, same small twitch in the left hand when nervous. The other you smiles faintly. Finally, it says, The doctor enters behind you, his voice calm and clinical. This is the doppelganger test, he explains. It measures identity integrity. Please, sit. You lower yourself into the chair, eyes locked on the copy. Here's the mainstream fact. Nazi psychological operations sometimes involved doubles and identity confusion tactics in interrogations, though nowhere near this elaborate. The test, that's an unconfirmed rumor in wartime conspiracy circles, no proof. Just whispers about experiments meant to fracture self-awareness, but you're living it. The copy tilts its head. Do you remember why you're here? It asks. You open your mouth, but stop. Why are you here? You hesitate too long. I do, it says for you. You volunteered. No, you whisper. I didn't. Yes, it insists, with your exact voice. You came willingly. You wanted this. You shake your head. The doctor interjects, softly. Respond to it. Maintain control. But the double leans forward. I know things you won't admit, it says, eyes glinting. Like how you wanted to see how far you could go. Like how you're not as innocent as you pretend. Your chest tightens. The copy smiles wider. Remember the mirrors, the silence, the whispers. They were me. The doctor scribbles a note. Historians still argue whether these identity-fracturing tests were real or just post-war rumors. Some claim they were designed to induce dissociation deliberately, to see if the self could be split into obedient fragments. Looking at your copy now, you're starting to believe it. The other, you laugh softly. I can take your place, you know. Wouldn't that be easier? Just let go. No, you snap, but the words feel weak. The copy mimics you perfectly. Tilts its head the way you do, scratches its arm the way you do. Then it leans in closer. You're tired, it says. Let me carry this for you. I'm stronger. Here's the quirky detail. You notice, just for a split second, the faintest difference. A tiny scar on its cheek that you don't have. It's subtle, but it's there. Proof it's not really you. You latch onto that. You're not me, you say firmly. The copy blinks slowly, then smiles wider. Not yet, it says. The doctor steps forward. Interesting. Identity resistance remains intact. He looks at the double enough. The copy straightens, stands, and walks toward the door. But as it passes you, it leans close and whispers in your ear. Next time, you won't be so sure. Then it's gone. You sit, frozen in the chair, heart hammering. The doctor nods once to the guards. Take him back. They escort you down the hallway, in silence. But as you walk, you notice your reflection faintly in a polished section of the wall. And for just a moment, it doesn't move the same way you do. Back in your cell, you pace instead of sitting. You can't shake the feeling that the double is still close, just waiting. Remember that tiny scar, the one proof it wasn't you. You keep replaying it in your mind like a mantra. It wasn't me. It wasn't me. But what if, next time, the scar isn't there? And tomorrow, they said, you'll hear the music. You don't know what's worse, seeing your own face lie to you, or hearing your own voice sing. You don't even try to sleep this time. You sit on the cot, staring at the door, waiting for the inevitable. Your mind still feels split, like a thread pulled taut between 2 points. Every time you blink, you half expect the double to be sitting in the corner of the room, waiting with that faint, knowing smile. When the door finally slides open, you're almost relieved. At least moving means something is happening. The guards take you down another hallway, this one wider, with strange acoustics. Your footsteps echo back in a delayed, hollow way, as if the walls are listening. At the end is a room that feels oddly theatrical. Heavy curtains line the walls, and in the center sits a single wooden chair facing a massive phonograph. Next to it, a small table holds a record, its black surface glinting faintly under the dim light. A doctor you've never seen before waits there. He's tall, thin, with pale hands and unnervingly long fingers. He simply gestures for you to sit. This, he says softly, is a test of memory fidelity. The music will guide you. You sit. The doctor places the record on the phonograph. The needle drops with a soft hiss, and then the music begins. It's gentle at first, a slow, haunting piano melody. Simple notes, repeating in a calm, almost soothing pattern. For a moment, you think this isn't so bad, but then it changes. The notes begin to twist. The melody bends into something just slightly off-key. And then your mind starts to move. Here's the mainstream fact. Nazi scientists experimented with music therapy, but darker rumors suggest they also used sound manipulation to induce memory distortion and emotional vulnerability. Simple sound could reach places words couldn't. As the music plays, you feel something stirring in your brain. Memories, clear, vivid, overwhelming. You're standing in your childhood kitchen. You can smell the bread baking. You can hear your parents' voices. It's so real, it hurts. But the notes twist again. Now the kitchen is wrong. The colors are off. Your parents' faces are blurred. When they speak, it's in a language you don't recognize. The music grows softer, more delicate, like it's threading into your thoughts. You see another memory, a friend, a laugh, a fleeting moment of joy. But it shifts. Now the friend is a stranger. Their smile feels threatening. The laugh echoes too long, distorted. Tell me what you see, the doctor whispers. You shake your head. I don't know anymore. The melody changes again, more complex now, layered with faint whispers beneath the notes. You strain to hear them, but they're just out of reach. Historians still argue whether these so-called memory manipulation experiments were truly about controlling the mind, or if they were simply attempts at breaking a person's sense of reality. Sitting here, with music reshaping your memories, you can see how easy it would be to blur the line between truth and falsehood. The music swells. Now you see the mirror room, the ice tank, the double, all the experiments, replaying, but they're different. In the mirror room, your reflection doesn't move at all. In the ice tank, the pale face beneath the water is smiling. The double in the chair doesn't have the scar anymore. You shiver, and then the melody softens again, almost sweet. You're standing in a garden now. Bright flowers, warm sunlight, a place you've never been, but it feels real. So real you want to stay there forever. Then the music cuts abruptly. Silence, and just like that, the garden is gone. You're back in the chair, trembling. The doctor leans forward slightly, studying your face with quiet fascination. Interesting, he murmurs. You responded strongly. Tomorrow, we will refine the process. But you're not done. Even as the record stops spinning, you can still hear the melody, softly, in the back of your mind. Here's the quirky detail. As the doctor lifts the record, you catch a glimpse of a name etched faintly into the label. It's in delicate handwriting, Fra Lease, the title of a simple, beautiful piece. But you're sure what you heard was not Beethoven. The guards lead you back to your cell. On the way, you hear faint humming from another room, someone else, another subject, quietly singing the same warped tune. Back in the cell, you sit on the cot, covering your ears. It doesn't help. The music is still there, looping softly, warping slowly. Remember that garden, the sunlight. It felt real, too real, and you can't stop wanting to go back. But tomorrow, they said, you'll face the dogs. You already know this won't be about simple fear. You hear the barking long before you see anything. It's distant at first, muffled through the endless hallways, but it grows sharper, closer, more deliberate. Not the playful bark of a pet. This is deeper, trained, precise. It makes your stomach. Not before you even reach the room. The guards take you down a corridor with claw marks faintly etched into the walls. You can tell this part of the facility is different, older, rougher, like it's been used more brutally. The air smells of wet fur, disinfectant, and something metallic beneath it all. When they open the door, you understand why. The room is wide, concrete, with a faint layer of straw scattered across the floor. At the far end are cages. Inside, massive German shepherds pace, their eyes locked on you the moment you enter. Their bodies are lean, strong, trained for one purpose. You can feel it in the way they move. A doctor you haven't seen before waits in the center. He's stout, with a heavy brow and an almost cheerful demeanor that feels completely wrong here. He gestures casually. This, he says, is an instinctive cognition test. We measure the mind's response under pure fear stimulus. He waves a hand toward the cages. The doors open with a slow, ominous creak. Here's the mainstream fact. The Nazis did indeed train dogs for intimidation, torture, and even experimentation. There are documented cases where prisoners were placed in controlled fear environments to measure adrenaline and psychological breakdown. What you're about to experience is an echo of that cruelty. The first dog steps out, slow and deliberate, eyes fixed on you. The second follows, teeth bared slightly. They don't charge yet, they circle. Your heartbeat spikes instantly. You can feel it pounding in your ears. The doctor observes calmly. Stay still, he says. The dogs close in. One sniffs the air, near your hand. The other growls low, a sound that vibrates through your chest. You try to remain calm, but it's impossible. Instinct takes over. The doctor makes a note. Heart rate elevated. Good. Now we will add stimuli. He gestures to an assistant at the far end of the room. Suddenly, a loud crack of sound echoes through hidden speakers. It's sharp, violent. The dogs react instantly, ears up, growls deeper. They step closer, and then it begins to shift. You hear something under the noise. Voices soft at first, almost subliminal. Run. They will tear you apart. They know what you are. You press your hands to your ears, but it doesn't help. The voices are inside, layered beneath the growls. Historians still argue whether the Nazis experimented with subliminal fear conditioning, pairing animal instinct with psychological suggestion. Standing here, surrounded by circling dogs, it doesn't feel like a theory. The largest dog steps closer, so close you can see the saliva glistening on its bared teeth. It doesn't attack, it just waits. And then the music starts, soft, faint. The same warped melody you heard yesterday. It's almost funny you want to laugh at the absurdity. Dogs circling you like predators, while that sweet, twisted tune plays faintly in the background. But you can't laugh. The doctor's voice cuts through. Tell me what you feel. Fear, you manage to whisper. Describe. Your eyes lock with the dog's. Like it knows me. Like it's waiting for me to make one wrong move. The doctor smiles faintly. Correct. Then, the assistant at the far end tosses something toward you, a piece of raw meat. It lands by your feet with a wet smack. The dogs freeze for one horrifying second. They all stare not at the meat, but at you. Then they lunge. You stumble back instinctively, pressing against the cold wall. But just before the dogs reach you, the doctor whistles sharply. They stop mid-motion, growling low, teeth inches from your legs. The doctor tilts his head. Good, he says softly. Your survival instinct is still intact. He snaps his fingers. The dogs retreat, disciplined, silent once more. But you're shaking. Your body won't stop trembling. Here's the quirky detail. As the dogs move back to their cages, you notice one of them limps slightly, an old scar running down its hind leg. It's subtle, but it feels oddly humanizing, like even these beasts weren't spared from whatever horrors happen here. The doctor makes one final note. Tomorrow, he says calmly, we remove the external threat. The fear will come from within. The guards lead you back to your cell. On the way, you still hear faint growls in your head, or maybe they're echoes of the voices beneath the growls. Back in the cell, you sit on the cot, trying to steady your breathing. You can still feel the heat of the dog's breath, the weight of their gaze. Remember the warped melody playing beneath it all. It hasn't stopped. It's looping faintly in your mind, weaving into the fear. And tomorrow, they said, you'll face pain without injury. You don't even know what that means, and you're not sure you want to find out. You're awake before the door opens. Not awake like rested, just aware. The faint growls from yesterday still echo in your skull, tangled with that looping, twisted melody. You sit on the cot, staring at the floor. When the guards arrive, you don't resist. This hallway is darker than the others, the lighting dimmed to a soft, sickly glow. You can hear the hum of machinery beyond the walls, deeper, more resonant than before. The smell changes to a faint chemical temps mixed with something metallic, like the air right before lightning strikes. The room they take you to looks simple, almost disappointingly so. A plain chair, bolted to the center of the floor. Beside it, a table with a single device, a strange box with wires leading to two smooth metal discs. A doctor you haven't seen before steps forward. He's clean-cut, almost gentle-looking, but his eyes are cold. Today, he says quietly, we will teach your mind the meaning of pain without leaving a mark. The words hang in the air like a weight. You're guided into the chair. The straps click shut around your wrists and ankles. They're not tight, not yet, but you know they can be. The doctor attaches the smooth metal discs to your temples, adjusting them with almost tender precision. This will not harm the body, he says, only the mind's perception. Here's the mainstream fact. Nazi experiments included crude electrotherapy and neural stimulation to test pain thresholds and cognitive reactions. What you're about to endure feels like an evolution of that deliberate attack on the very boundary between what is real and what is only imagined. The machine hums softly as he turns a dial. At first, it's nothing. A faint warmth behind your eyes. Then it spikes. It's not pain like you've felt before. It's not sharp, not burning. It's wrong. A deep, invasive sensation that moves through you like a wave. Your brain can't even categorize it. It feels like your nerves are being rewired, like something is digging through your thoughts with invisible fingers. You gasp. Describe it, the doctor says calmly. You can barely form words. It's inside, like it's crawling under my skin. Good, he murmurs, turning the dial higher. The sensation intensifies. Now it's in your jaw, your spine, your fingertips. It's not just Panit's displacement, like your body is suddenly foreign, not yours. The machine hums louder, and then the hallucinations begin. You see your hands moving, but you're not moving them. You feel your heart pounding, but the rhythm is wrong, uneven. The doctor speaks. Again, his voice almost soft. Your mind will create the injury. Believe it, and it becomes true. Historians still argue whether experiments like this were intended to study phantom pain, or if they were early, crude attempts at psychological conditioning for compliance. Sitting here, feeling your body betray you, it's clear they wanted both. The dial turns again. Now you see it. Your skin seems to blister under an invisible flame. You know it's not real, you know it, but your brain doesn't care. You can smell burned flesh, feel the sharp sting of a wound that isn't there. You scream. The doctor doesn't flinch. He simply makes a note. Yes, full somatic response, without trauma. You squeeze your eyes shut, but it doesn't help. Behind your eyelids, the images are worse. Your legs twisted, your arms broken, blood pooling where there is none, and layered under it all, faint whispers. See, this is what you really are. It's all in your head, always was. Here's the quirky detail. Through the haze of false pain, you notice something on the floor, just beside the chair, a single matchstick. Ordinary, wooden, harmless. It's absurd in this context, almost funny, and for one fleeting moment, it grounds you. But then the sensation surges again, and the matchstick blurs into nothing. The doctor lowers the dial slowly. The false pain lingers. It doesn't just stop, it fades in slow, trembling waves that leave you hollow. He watches you quietly. Your mind believes what it is told. He says, "Tomorrow, we will teach it something new." The guards unstrap you. Your legs barely hold you up. On the way back to your cell, you glimpse another subject in the next room. They're strapped to the same chair, their mouth open in a silent scream. You notice their skin is unmarked, no burns, no wounds, yet their eyes are wild, like they're seeing horrors you can't imagine. Back in your cell, you collapse on the cot. Your body is fine. No cuts, no bruises, but you feel broken. You still sense the ghost of the pain crawling under your skin, echoing in your bones. Remember the burned smell. It lingers faintly, even though you know it was never there. And tomorrow, they said, you'll face the clock. You don't know how time could possibly hurt more than this, but you're about to find out. You expect the guards, and of course, they come. By now, their silence is almost louder than any command. You stand before they even gesture. You don't fight it. Fighting doesn't matter here. The hallway they lead you down feels different longer. Somehow, even though you know distance doesn't mean much in this place, the air is still and stale, heavier with each step, like you're walking deeper into the heart of the mountain itself. The room they bring you to is oddly minimal. No strange machines this time, no cages, just a single wooden chair in the middle of a circular space, and above it, a clock, a simple, old-fashioned clock with brass hands, silently ticking. A doctor is already there. You've seen him once before, maybe in the mirror room. His face is unreadable. "Sit," he says softly. You sit. "This is the time loop deception," he explains, adjusting the cuffs of his sleeves. "We will manipulate perception. Time will no longer obey you. Your stomach knots instantly. The doctor steps back. The room goes dim. Here's the mainstream fact. During World War II, experiments on sensory disorientation and time perception were indeed conducted, both by Nazis and later by Allied scientists. Depriving someone of reliable time markers is a known way to erode cognitive stability. But here, it's not just deprivation, they're about to twist it. The clock begins to tick. Louder at first, it's just normal. Tick, tick, tick. You stare at it. You tell yourself, it's fine, just a clock. Then the ticks change. They speed up, then slow down. Irregular, impossible to follow. The hands move strangely, sometimes jerking forward, sometimes sliding back. You try to look away, but you can't. The doctor's voice echoes faintly in the background. Describe what you feel. You swallow hard. I can't tell how long I've been sitting here. Good, he says calmly. Dot. The clock spins faster now. Suddenly, the room feels warmer, then colder. The light dims, then brightens, then dims. Again, you glance down at your hands and are they older? You blink. No, normal again. Your breathing quickens. The hands on the clock stop, and in that silence, you hear something else. You've been here for days. A whisper, not from the doctor, from the room itself. No, you say. It's been minutes. Weeks. The whisper insists. The doctor takes notes. Historians still argue whether such experiments were intended to break the will completely or to induce a kind of mental pliability, making subjects easier to manipulate. Watching the clock's impossible movements, you realize it could do both. The clock starts again, slower this time, too slow. You feel like each tick is separated by an eternity. Your mind starts filling the gaps. You see flashes of other times your childhood again. The ice tank, the mirror room, the double-all, overlapping dot. Then the whispers change. This is all you've ever known. You never existed before this room. You grip the edge of the chair, nails digging into the wood. The clock jerks violently forward. Now the room feels wrong. The shadows are longer. The walls look aged, cracked. You catch your reflection in the brass rim of the clock. But it's not right. Your hair is gray. Your face is hollow, lined. No, you breathe. No, no, no. The doctor asks softly, how long have you been here? You try to answer. Your mouth is dry. Years. Interesting, he says. He makes another note. The clock reverses suddenly. The room brightens. The shadows snap back to normal. Your hands are young again. The reflection is normal. But your mind, it's not normal. It can't be. Here's the quirky detail. As the clock reverses, you notice faint words scratched into the wood of the chair. Not real, just two small words, carved deep, over and over again. You repeat them silently. Not real, not real. But the clock stops again. The whispers return. You can't leave. Time won't let you. The doctor finally steps forward, breaking the trance. He touches the clock lightly, and it stops ticking entirely. The silence is deafening. He studies you. Perception is pliable, he says simply. Tomorrow, we test the dream boundary. The guards unstrap you and lead you back on the way to your cell. You notice another subject being brought toward the same room. They're trembling, whispering something to themselves. As you pass, you catch the words, not real, not real, not real. Back in your cell, you collapse onto the cot. You stare at the ceiling, unsure if minutes or hours pass. You try to sleep, but every time you close your eyes, you see the clock's hands spinning out of control, forward, backward, stopping, reversing again. Remember the whisper. You never existed before this room. It clings to you, sticky, impossible to shake off. And tomorrow. They said you'll sleep whether you want to or not, and suddenly, you're not sure if that's a mercy or a trap. You sit on the cot, eyes half-lidded, but you don't dare fully close them. After what the clock did to your sense of time, you're not sure sleep is even possible anymore. Safe. But the guards come anyway, like they always do, and you stand without a word. Today's hallway is quieter than ever, lined with heavy curtains that muffle every sound. The air smells faintly sweet, almost medicinal. It makes your head feel light, foggy, before you even reach the room. When the door opens, you're hit by a strange sense of calm. The room isn't harsh like the others. It's dim, with soft lighting. In a single narrow bed in the center, a doctor is waiting. This one, different, gentle-faced, speaking in a soft tone that almost feels kind. Almost. Today, he says, we will help you rest. You need it. But there's something in his eyes that betrays the truth. They guide you to the bed. It's surprisingly comfortable, with a soft pillow and clean sheets. For a moment, you're suspiciously grateful. The doctor prepares a small syringe with clear liquid. This will induce controlled sleep, he explains. We will observe your dreams. Within seconds, your eyelids grow heavy. The room fades, and then the dreams begin. Here's the mainstream fact. Nazi doctors experimented with barbiturates, morphine derivatives, and other substances to induce artificial sleep. In some cases, they combined drugs with hypnosis to manipulate subjects' subconscious minds. What you're about to endure feels like a deliberate step into that murky territory between science and nightmare. At first, it's simple. You're in a familiar place, your childhood bedroom. The wallpaper, the smell, the exact feel of the wooden floor under your bare feet. It's too real, but then it shifts. The window shows not your childhood street, but the mountain facility. Snow falling silently. You shouldn't have come here, it whispers. You stumble back. The room dissolves. Now you're in the mirror room. The reflections are all smiling this time. Too wide, to knowing. They speak in unison. You're only dreaming, but the dream won't end. Your breathing quickens, then the dream shifts again. You're in the ice tank, but the water is black and still. Beneath the surface, pale faces stare up at you. Dozens of them. They all have your face. You scream silently. In the real world, or what's left of it, too, feel something cold on your forehead. Electrodes. You're aware of the doctor's voice faintly. The subject is lucid, but unresponsive. Increased depth, and you're pulled deeper. Now you're in a corridor with no end. Each door you pass shows a different experiment. The dogs, the silence, the double looping. You try to run, but the floor sticks to your feet like glue. Historians still argue whether these dream boundary experiments were intended for interrogation, mind control, or simply to break a person's will completely. You don't need to wake up. No, you say, shaking your head. This isn't real. But then your voice. You notice a single scrap of paper on the floor. It's a torn page from a book. It reads, in German, Die Traum gehören uns. The dreams belong to us. You clutch it, desperate for something solid, but it dissolves in your hands. Suddenly, you're back in the facility, but you walk toward your cell, but when you look inside, someone is sitting on your cot. It's the doctor. He smiles faintly. You see, he says, even here, you can't escape us. The dream collapses again. You're falling now, endlessly falling. And then, just as suddenly you wake, your eyes snap open. You're back in the dim room, lying on the narrow bed. The doctor is standing over you, calmly making notes. How long was I? You start. Only 20 minutes, he says softly. 20 minutes, but it felt like days. The guards help you sit up. Your body feels leaden, but your mind is buzzing with fragments of the dream. You can still hear the whispers, faint but persistent. The dreams belong to us. They lead you back to your cell. On the way, you glimpse another subject being escorted toward the sleep room. Their eyes are wide, pleading, but they're too weak to resist. Back in your cell, you sit on the cot and stare at the wall. Remember the dream corridor, the faces under the water, the reflection that spoke. They felt as real as anything else, maybe more. And tomorrow, they said, you'll wake up, but not where you think. You already know that means another layer you're not ready to peel back. You're not sure you actually slept after the induced dreams. You sat on the cot for what felt like hours, but your mind wouldn't quiet. The whispers from the dreams still curl around your thoughts like smoke. The dreams belong to us. When the door opens, you're numb. You stand, follow, and don't ask questions. The hallway they take you down is unnerving in its brightness. Pure white, almost glowing, with no shadows at all. It's disorienting. You feel exposed, like you can't hide even in your own thoughts. At the end is a door unlike any other. It's mirrored, reflecting you back. For a second, you think it's the mirror room again. But when the door slides open, what's inside is worse. It looks like the outside world. You step into what appears to be a corridor of an ordinary building. Warm yellow lights, polished floors, a faint smell of fresh air. You see a door at the far end that looks normal. And then you see a open window. Sunlight, real sunlight spilling in, illuminating the floor. Your heart leaps. A voice, soft, almost kind, speaks from hidden speakers. You're free. You can leave now. You hesitate. This is the end. The voice continues. You made it through. You survived, but you don't believe it. Here's the mainstream fact. Nazi facilities were rumored to use false escape scenarios to test psychological responses. Subjects would be made to believe they were free, only to discover it was another layer of the experiment. Many historians dismiss this as myth, but standing here, staring at that impossibly warm sunlight, it feels real enough. You step forward cautiously. As you move down the hallway, everything feels too perfect. The walls aren't scuffed. The air doesn't carry the sterile chill of the rest of the facility. You hear birds outside the window. Birds. Your pace quickens. You reach the door at the end. It's unlocked. You push it open and you're outside. Snow crunches under your feet. The Bavarian Alps stretch before you, breathtaking, endless. You can feel the cold breeze on your face. See the sky stretch out above you for the first time. In what feels like forever, you take a deep breath of clean air. But then you hear it, a faint hum. You turn back. The building you just stepped out of is gone. In its place is a blank white wall, featureless, endless. And then you see something in the snow. Footprints, dozens of them, all leading to the same spot, but none leading away. The air grows still, and then you hear a voice behind you. You're not supposed to be here. You whirl around. Standing there is you, again, the double. But this time, it's smiling gently, almost sadly. You didn't think it would be that easy, did you? You shake your head, backing away. No, this isn't. It's another test, the double says. It always was. The sky darkens. The snow begins to fall harder, and the mountains, they dissolve. Suddenly, you're not outside. You're in a large, empty room with blank walls. No snow, no sky, no window, just a painted backdrop of freedom, peeled away to reveal more of the same. Historians still debate whether the so-called escape illusion was a real Nazi tactic or just a psychological rumor born from survivor stories. But right now, you're living the worst-case version, your hope used as another tool to break you. The double steps closer. Every time you think you're free, you're only deeper inside. No, you whisper. Yes, it says, with your voice. And the deeper you go, the less of you there is left. Here's the quirky detail. As you glance down in panic, you notice your own footprints literally fading into nothing, as though you were never there. The double leans in. You don't belong out there anymore. You belong here. Before you can answer, the lights in the room shift, the walls open. The doctor enters calmly, clipboard in hand. Excellent response, he says. The subject resisted, but eventually understood. Understood what? The double steps back into the shadows and vanishes, leaving you alone with the doctor. He nods to the guards. Take him back. Tomorrow is the breaking point. They lead you back to your cell. You glance over your shoulder one last time, hoping for some sign that the window, the snow, the mountains were real. But the hallway behind you is just blank walls again. Back in your cell, you sit on the cot. You stare at your hands. They look normal to normal. Remember the sunlight on your face. It still felt warm, too warm, and tomorrow, they said, you'll learn the truth, you're ready for it. But you already know the truth. Here is never really the truth. You don't bother sitting when the door opens this time. You're already standing, staring blankly, waiting for the next layer of whatever this is. The guards step aside, and you follow without hesitation. There's no point pretending you have a choice. The hallway they lead you down feels heavier. The walls are closer, the lights dimmer. There's a faint, low-frequency hum you can feel in your chest, like the building itself is vibrating with anticipation. When the door opens, the room beyond is different. It's darker, larger, and more theatrical than any before. In the center is a single chair under a spotlight, and surrounding it are shadows you can't quite make out. There are monitors along the walls, all showing static. Waiting for you is the silver-haired doctor from the mirror room. He steps forward slowly, clipboard in hand. Today, he says, we bring you to the edge. The mind must break before it can be remade. You freeze. He gestures to the chair. Sit, and you do. As soon as you're seated, the spotlight grows brighter. The rest of the room stays in deep shadow. You can't see the walls. You can't see anything beyond the blinding cone of light. This is the revelation stage, the doctor says softly. Everything you've seen, everything you've felt, has prepared you for this. He adjusts a dial on a device you can't see. The static on the monitors shifts. At first, it's random, flickering images. Then it starts to form shapes. You see your cell, the ice tank, the dogs, the mirror room, all the experiments, all at once. They flash rapidly, layered on top of each other. Then you see something new. A group of doctors, these doctors standing around you while you're unconscious, wires in your head. They're discussing you like you're not a person, just an asset. This one responds well to suggestion. One of them says, the memories are nearly rewritten. Your heart pounds. No, you whisper. The monitors shift again now. You see yourself before all this arriving at the facility, signing a paper, shaking hands with a doctor, volunteering. No, you say louder, I didn't. But then you remember the double saying it. You volunteered. The doctor steps closer. Do you see it now? You wanted this. You chose this. I didn't, you insist, shaking your head. Yes, he says, you came willingly. You asked to know what lies beyond the mind's limits. The static flickers. Now you see other subjects, people like you, at different stages. Some screaming, some silent and hollow-eyed, some smiling, eerily calm. Then you see yourself again, but it's wrong. This version of you looks content, smiling faintly, nodding along with the doctors. Your stomach twists. Historians still argue whether these final stages were intended as some kind of psychological reprogramming or just a final push to erase identity entirely. Looking at your own smiling face on the screen, you can feel how close you are to that edge. The doctor crouches in front of you now, meeting your eyes. "There is no you outside this program," he says softly. "You were made for this, and soon you will understand why." You shake your head again. "I'm real. I'm still me." He tilts his head slightly. "Are you?" Here's the quirky detail. As you glance at the floor, you see a faint chalk mark, an arrow pointing toward the chair, with a small X at its base. It looks hastily drawn, like someone else tried to leave a message. But before you can process it, the monitors shift again. Now you see something you can't explain. Rows of people in identical uniforms, sitting in identical chairs, all facing identical screens, all with your face, infinite copies, stretching into darkness. You can't breathe. The doctor whispers in your ear, calm as ever. "You are one of many, and soon you will join the others." The screens flicker, and then the images stop. Silence. The doctor straightens, looking satisfied. "Good. The fracture has begun. Tomorrow, you will fully accept the program." The guards unstrap you. Your legs are weak, but they lead you out anyway. As you're escorted down the hallway, you glimpse another subject waiting to enter the same room. Their face is pale, eyes vacant, but there's something familiar about them, too familiar. It's almost like looking into a mirror again, back in your cell. You sit on the cot and stare at the wall. You replay the images over and over, the smiling version of you, the rows of endless copies. Remember the chalk arrow. It felt like a clue, a desperate attempt by someone else to mark their reality. But it was pointing toward the chair, not away. "And tomorrow," they said. "It's the breaking point, the final revelation. You don't know what's left to break." The guards come slower today, as if even they sense the weight of what's next. You're already standing when they open the door. You don't look at them, you just follow. There's no fear left, only a numb kind of acceptance. The hallway is silent to silent. You notice it's longer than any other, stretching on until it almost feels endless. The air here is cold and still, and your footsteps echo faintly, like you're walking inside a hollow body. At the end is a door, unlike any before. It's not metal or mirrored or blankets wood. Old, worn, with scratches along the frame, like it's been opened and closed too many times. The doctor you've seen the most, the silver-haired one, waits there. His voice is calm, almost tender. "This is the last step," he says. "The truth, and then you will rest." You stare. At the door, what's behind it? "Everything," he says. He opens it for you. You step through. The room beyond is vast. Not a lab, not a chamber, something else entirely. It looks like a memory, or many memories layered together. The walls are your childhood home. The ceiling is the sky from the Bavarian mountains. The floor is the same sterile tile from the facility. And in the center is a single chair facing a mirror. No straps, no wires, just you. You approach slowly, and in the mirror you see yourself. But it's not the you standing here now. It's every version of you. You've seen awake, dreaming, screaming, smiling. They all flicker in and out, like an endless slideshow. The mirror speaks. "You're not who you think you are." You stumble back. No, this isn't yes." The reflection interrupts. "You were never one person. You are all of us. Every subject, every experiment. You are the sum of what they made." The room flickers. Now you see every experiment again: the ice tank, the dogs, the silence, the time loops. But this time, you're not the subject. You're the observer. You're the one taking notes, standing with the doctors. No, you whisper. The silver-haired doctor steps beside you now. You're beginning to see it. You were not just a subject. You were part of this from the beginning, and you forgot. You shake your head violently. I'm not, but the monitors in the room flash again. They show you in a doctor's coat, adjusting the dials, injecting the drugs, strapping people into the chair. The truth unravels in your mind like a frayed thread. Historians still argue whether these final revelation stages were real or just post-war myths designed to convince subjects they were complicit, erasing the line between victim and perpetrator. But standing here, seeing yourself in both roles, you can't tell what's real anymore. The reflection leans closer. You chose this. You helped build it. And when you wanted to know what it felt like, you became the subject. And now you can't go back. I didn't. You did, the reflection insists. You volunteered for your own undoing. Here's the quirky detail. On the edge of the mirror, faintly scratched, are the same two words you saw before not real. But now, they look old, faded, like they've been there for years. Ignored by everyone who's seen them. The doctor whispers beside you. You understand now. There is no outside. There is only this. The room flickers again. The walls dissolve into black. The ceiling disappears. Now it's just you, the mirror, and endless darkness. And in that darkness, you see them. Every subject, every version of yourself. Hundreds, thousands, all staring at you. They speak in unison. Stay. Your knees weaken. The mirror shatters silently. And suddenly, you're back in your cell. No guards, no doctor, just you. But the walls are different. There, covered in chalk marks, carved messages, desperate notes from others who've been here, or maybe from you, over and over again. You sit on the cot. Your hands are trembling. Remember the reflection's words. You were never one person. You are all of us. The door doesn't open again. No one comes. You realize the final revelation isn't an escape or a resolution. It's this. You can't tell where you end and the experiments begin. The whispers start. Again, soft but insistent. Stay, stay, stay. And this time, you don't argue. You close your eyes. The loop is complete. Asterisk, the room fades, gently. The sounds dull, softening into something almost comforting. Imagine now that you're lying somewhere quiet, far from the cold hallways and strange experiments. The lights are dim, and the air is still, but it's no longer heavy, it's warm and calm. You feel the weight of the journey lifting, like a fog drifting away after a long night. The whispers fade to like distant echoes carried off by the wind. All that's left is your own slow, steady breathing. The fear, the confusion, the endless questions, they soften here, like they were only fleeting moments in a dream. Imagine the edges of the story dissolving like mist at dawn. The walls you saw in the facility are no longer close. They're melting into something open, infinite, and safe. You're not trapped now. You're simply floating, weightless, in a space where nothing can reach you. And in this quiet, you realize the experiments, the reflections, the illusions of time, they were just passing shapes. None of them can touch you anymore. Not here, not now. The darkness around you isn't threatening anymore, it's restful. A soft blanket of silence that asks nothing of you but to let go. You're safe, you're whole, and you can drift, slowly and gently, toward rest. So breathe deeply. Let the final traces of the story fade into the background like an old radio turned low. Feel your eyelids grow heavier, your thoughts slower, calmer. It's over now. You're here, in this soft, quiet place, and nothing. The next day arrives quickly, dreams like a breeze that sweeps through unnoticed. The weariness never leaves you. Even though the sky is clear and the air feels light, you can't shake the heavy feeling that's settled deep inside. Every step, every movement, every breath feels like it's passing through thick fog. But you keep moving because there's no choice. This morning, the mission comes again, just like every other, yet you know there's nothing certain about it. Chair won't be filled today. Johnny won't be here. You still can't accept that the planes are still the same, patched up, held together by more hope than metal. The ground crew works tirelessly, tightening bolts and replacing parts, doing their best to make sure these machines can fly just a little longer. You step into the cockpit once more, familiar but cold. The smell of oil and leather mixing with the faint scent of rain. That the engine roars to life, though it sounds different today. Rest of the squadron, and for a moment, the runway feels like a quiet reflection of the sky, peaceful, almost. But you know that's not real. As the planes lift into the sky, the formation feels too quiet. The familiar hum of engines, the rush of wind, the way the world seems to fall away beneath you, it all feels almost serene. But you've learned by now that serenity is the illusion. Then, a flash in the distance. Enemy fighters. You don't have to wait for the orders to come through the radio. You already know what's coming. You bank hard, shifting your plane into position. The chaos begins immediately. The air filled with the crackle of gunfire, the sharp whistle of bullets whizzing past. The familiar rush of adrenaline floods your system. And again, you're thrown into the madness. Explosions echo from the bombers ahead, and somewhere below, you hear the soft rumble of flak, shaking your bones even from this height. Your mind is running on instinct, each movement like a reflex, each turn a race against death. It's the same dance, again and again. Johnny's voice crackles over the radio. "I've got your 6. The words are comforting, familiar, like a lifeline thrown at the last second. But the radio goes silent suddenly. You can't afford to wonder. You can't afford to think. You dive into the clouds, weaving through the haze as tracers streak past you like red-hot beads of fire. You focus on the mission, protect the bombers, keep the fighters off them. Then, a sudden jolt, a shot through your wing. You grimace, but don't flinch. There's no room for pain up here. You keep flying, keep shooting, keep surviving. The engine sputters once, then roars back to life. The force of it pushing you forward, propelling you through the storm. A few more passes, a few more turns, then a break. Thin air. You exhale a breath you didn't realize you were holding. Your hands are shaking, but you force yourself to keep flying. You escort them back to friendly lines, your formation tight, your resolve firmer than before. Landing feels like an eternity away. You bring your plane in slowly, the engine still sputtering but holding. The wheels touch the ground with a bump, but you manage to steady the plane and come to a stop. Another mission, another close call. The ground crew rushes over, checking for damage, nodding in approval as they survey the battered plane. You slide out of the cockpit, your legs unsteady, your breath shallow. It's the same routine, but this time it feels different, distant and faint. We made it, barely. You nod, even though he can't see you. You both made it, but you both know it won't always be this way. In the debriefing room, the same faces, the same reports. A few losses, a few near misses, but in the end, the mission was a success. Another day survived. Later, in the mess hall, the silence is deafening. No one speaks of the close calls. You look around at the familiar faces, some tired, some blank, some already lost in their own thoughts, and realize you don't really know who you're flying for anymore. You only know that you're still here. For now. You close your eyes for a moment, the weight of the day pressing down on you. When you open them again, everything feels a little clearer. Maybe it's the exhaustion. Maybe it's just the quiet. You'll fly again, because it's all you can do, and you won't stop. Not until the sky stops calling.